What's up, YouTube?
Hi, I'm Brianna, and welcome back to my channel.
This is literally not her channel, but she is. Yeah, we're prepping for the week. You'll see our meal prep video next week. But we're here to just give a recap of how move-in really went with our roommates and just the process of the bullshit we went through this past week.
That was a lot.
And I recorded the cleaning of the kitchen, which she left me. She left me when I cleaned the nasty ass.
Look, my parents were here.
Yeah, they were. I mean, it's not her fault. Move in. Where did we start?
You moved in.
And I had I had like all my kitchen stuff, and
It wasn't really a lot.
it wasn't a lot. People thought it was a lot because they were in 2 big boxes, but when I packed them, I didn't fill them because I didn't want it to be heavy. So like they weren't filled at all. I have like a set of like 5 pans. I bought like glasses, bowls, and I just bought these bowls and stuff. And then I have appliances like a NutriBullet, what did I bring here? A toaster oven, which that was already here.
A little mini waffle maker is
Yeah,
so
that's
cute.
So like that's all I had, but I was like, all of our space, like there's no space in the kitchen because it's filled with the stuff. And so I was like, hey, like, you know, I don't know, when can we like clear this area out so I have
Mind you,
Yeah.
mind you,
Yep. Let's explain
I've been here since July.
Since July.
She moved in like what, August 15th,
Yep.
something like that. I've been here since July 1st, and none of my stuff is in the kitchen because when I first moved in here,
There was
I
no
didn't
space.
see any space for me to put my stuff in the kitchen, and plus I didn't really know the organization for real. Like you can look at a cabinet, open up, and know like, okay, here are plates, here are bowls, here are spoons, here
It
are
wasn't
cups, whatever.
that clear.
But like, I mean, like it was organized like that, but I'm like, whose stuff is what? Like, where is like, do I get a designated space? Like if I put my stuff in here, does that automatically mean like people get free access to it? Because I don't know if I want that.
Yeah, I don't want to share my things.
So-
I don't know everybody that, well, I mean I do, but like you're not that close.
So I just have left my stuff in my room, and like, I'm not gonna lie, it was bothersome. I was kind of
Everything.
annoyed.
She has a
Like-
microwave, a fridge, all of her pots and everything was in her room. It was like living in a dorm room essentially.
Yeah, and it's hard to like use your stuff when you have to like bring it down every single time you need to use stuff. So like,
inconvenient.
not that I cook anyways, but like I definitely didn't want to cook when
all
I
of it
knew
was
all of my like
inconvenient.
pots and pans are upstairs, and I have to bring them down to then cook, then wash them, dry
And
them,
bring
and
them
then
back
bring
up.
them back. It's a lot. It's way easier to just microwave something, or takeout, which is why I've gained weight. But besides the point, so no space. Then when she moved in, our other roommate had come back. Like he lived here last year, and he like came back around the same time she did. And we asked him like, "Oh, do you have any stuff in here?" And he's like,
He said no. So if I don't have anything, Bree doesn't have anything, he doesn't have anything, how is all of the cabinet space filled and there's only one other person that shares this kitchen with us? And that's when we realized, so this house is essentially used to be like a frat house, and everyone that's lived here, they've just left their stuff. When I tell you there's so much Tupperware, I could fill 3 giant boxes with the amount of Tupperware that was here. So we realized that like that's what was filling all the space. So I'm like, oh, well, let's just go through it, get rid of things that don't belong to the 4th person, and then we'll all have our space to put our things. Mm-hmm. We thought it was that easy.
So we had, mind you, we had sent this. Nylah had sent this in the
We have a group
chat asking like, hey, this is my idea. We all like take out our stuff that's ours, and we look at whatever's left over that's like nobody's, and if like, you know, people want to claim certain things, if they want to keep that, whatever, we might get rid of some stuff. We might create like a little shared space for those things, but essentially like everybody takes their stuff and we'll like reorganize the kitchen space so everybody has like individual space for themselves.
Our shared space. So like Brianna and I will share one half, and then the other 2 people share the bottom.
Yeah, so that was what was like mentioned or whatever. And
No one had any opposition to it. They
Yeah.
just said, we're not really free right now to do that, so can we do it, you know, like next weekend? And for me, I don't like my things not being settled when I'm starting school and work. And so I didn't like that, but I was like, I can't, you know.
You can't force somebody to be free, you know.
Yeah, and we were like, well, since only the 4th person has stuff in the kitchen and everything else belonged to past people, we were like, well, we can just go through it and you tell us like what's yours. But they weren't comfortable with us touching their stuff, which is cool.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, we'll wait.
So we had decided that like she was gonna take out, or yeah, they were gonna take out their stuff. someday we had decided, and we'd come in afterwards, and like essentially anything that was left over is not theirs and not ours, so it doesn't belong to anybody, and we'd like do whatever we wanted with it. And then that's not what happened. So the day that this was supposed to occur, let me just clarify, I'm super busy. Like, my weekdays are like packed because I work 2 jobs and then I have class. Everything's virtual, but literally it's just like meeting time, like back to back. So this day that they decided to do this was one of like my worst days where I really don't have free time. And Nylah was not home. She went, I don't know where you went. I think it was...
I had a doctor's appointment.
That's where she was. So I'm upstairs, getting ready.
Let me say real quick, let me give my point of view and then hers.
Go ahead.
So I'm at my doctor's appointment. I get a text from one of the roommates that's like, hey, can we talk for a bit? And this is also my friend. So I was like, hey, what's up? I'm at the doctor's office, but I'll be back in an hour. And they're like, oh, we want to discuss the kitchen. Mind you, we've already talked about things in the group chat. No one said had any opposition. So I'm like, oh, I guess maybe they're like finally moving things around. And so I was like, well, you can ask Bree, because Bree basically knows, essentially I said she knows my opinion. Like, if you want to ask me a question, we're going to be sharing space. So like anything you want to talk to her about, I'm fine with. And then Bree can continue.
So this had occurred without my knowledge. Like, I didn't know that this conversation already happened. All I was like literally getting ready for class. Class started in like 30 minutes. And I get a text from one of the roommates who was like, hey, do you have a second? Like, do you have a minute? And I was like, oh yeah. And they were like, okay, can you come down to the kitchen? It'll only it'll only be a minute. And I was like, oh, okay, cool. I just thought that I was coming to like answer some question or like just wanted to say hi. I really didn't know. So I came downstairs. The second my feet hit this level,
bro, let them know what happened.
I round the corner, and one of the roommates is like, oh, hey, Bree. And I'm like, okay, hello. I thought I was coming down to just talk to like one person, like the one person who messaged me. No, it was
3 people.
3 people in the kitchen. And the one person who messaged me, like the second, was not the one who was like, oh, hey, Bree. It was the other person, and they were like, hey, and then they just start going. And I'm like,
they didn't stop.
And they're like, so I know that you guys wanted to rearrange the kitchen, but there's organization already here, and what are you really looking for?
I would also like to caveat that the person that's speaking right now lives downstairs, has their own kitchen, and doesn't have anything in this kitchen. So why are you part of the conversation?
Which later, one of our other roommates that was not here for this, who lives downstairs with this other person, was like, maybe they were speaking for the person who does have stuff in this kitchen.
Yeah, but the person that has stuff in this kitchen, I don't even want, you're grown enough to speak for yourself.
Yikes. Anyway.
And they do speak for themselves. So
I don't want to get loud, they get loud. Okay. Anyways. So I'm down here, I walk in this kitchen, and I feel like attacked instantly. I'm like, oh, okay. I was like, well, look, I was like, so, we had said that we wanted to do this with the kitchen, that we each were going to have our own space. Like, this section is going to be me and Nylah. This section could be,
you two.
The other 2 people. And that's how we would organize it. And then from there, anything, if there needed to be a place that had like shared stuff or whatever, we'd like figure out from there. But like, we just wanted to see how much stuff everybody had individually, see what needed to be put where, whatever, just to start. They're kind of like going back and forth, kind of like ganging up on me. The one person who doesn't live on this floor and the one person who does. And it's just like this constant like cycle of like, all this stuff is shared. Why do we need to get rid of stuff? I don't want to come into the kitchen and like not be able to find stuff where I normally am used to finding stuff. Like, so-and-so has been here like forever, and they're like, I don't want to mess with their system.
My issue is there's 6 people that live in this house. The 2 people having this argument, only one of them uses this kitchen.
It's supposed to. Realistically, I mean, like, everybody uses the kitchen for like the kitchen stove, oven. But
your space-wise, only 4 people should be storing
downstairs
space.
There is like a whole other set of cabinetry
and a
fridge and a sink. So realistically, the people downstairs shouldn't have their stuff up here. And if they are sharing things, like their shared stuff should be downstairs, not up here.
So it doesn't make sense to me that everyone's like, no, it's shared space, when only 1 out of the 4 people upstairs want to do shared space. I like to keep my things to myself. I just do. We're also in COVID. Like, if we all had shared space and one of us was positive for COVID, what do we do then? Like, exactly.
So, wait, okay, pause. I've been talking. How do I drop this? So we're having this conversation, and then instantly I'm like having to defend myself because I'm like, whoa. Like, look, y'all, I don't have any space in here. You know, I'm potentially down to share things, but you know, I would like a space in the kitchen where my stuff can just live and it be, and I know exactly where it is. And you know, part of my issue is I want to know whose stuff I'm using. Like, you guys are saying this is all shared stuff, but like, whose stuff am I sharing?
We don't need to, things that have been left here, why are we keeping that here if it's taking up space from active tenants? So that was just annoying, and honestly at that point I had already been like just irritated because my things were in a fucking box.
She was irritated. I was irritated.
They attacked her
for a minute conversation. I was told this was going to be a minute. Mind you, the person who did message me and like asked me to come down, like backed out of this room so quick the second that
they
it happened.
They didn't even know what was going on.
Because they didn't know that was about to happen. Like, backed up and was like, oh shit.
And I feel bad because essentially, like, that conversation was supposed to happen to me, but I was at my doctor's appointment, so it's like Bree took the brunt of everything.
But what bothered me was that it wasn't like it
wasn't a conversation.
It depends. Okay, because the person who actually like lives up here was like having, at first you could tell that they were just bothered because it was like, you know, they didn't really know what they were supposed to be doing because we hadn't really had a full-on conversation. This is why I hate having conversations through text, because I didn't really understand like the vision
of
what was being asked of them. So really, which I found out later, was that they just wanted clarification on what they needed to do, like what we were expecting of them, if they wanted us to like move all the spices or if it was just like cups and stuff. And I was like trying to explain like, nah, just cups and stuff. But the conversation got out of hand when the person from downstairs, who I realized, good friend of ours, love them, and as much as I love them, I realized that like, I think their stake in the game was that they use a lot of this, like none of the stuff up here may be theirs, but they use it because it's shared. So I think that was like their stake in the game, is just like, you know, where's all the stuff that I normally use going to be if all this stuff is changing? And also they've been here for a long time, so I think years. Change in general is a little bit, you know, a lot.
I understand. It's just.
But it's like, let's have a conversation. We don't need to be like whatever. And what bothered me was that at first it was fine, you know, I understand that they were confused and just like whatever, and I'm explaining. But then it goes from like that to like, oh, well, things are voted on in this house and like people can't just come in here and
I'd be like, okay, well, we can vote because you'll be outvoted.
And like people can't just come in here and like make decision and like take up space or whatever, and you know, can't say that we didn't make space for Nylah, because he was referencing Nylah, which bothered me as well, because like I kept saying, I was like, you know, I can tell you what I think Nylah feels about this, I can tell you what I think I remember Nylah saying, or how I think she'll feel about something, but I'm not Nylah. Okay, so the conversation went from like one place to another where I was like, you really need to be having Nylah in this conversation. Me speaking for her is not like, this has escalated to a level where like she needs to be a part of this conversation. And so I was talking to them, and it went from like, you know, talking about the space and like what to do with it and whatnot, to this conversation of like, oh, well, we've made space for Nylah. Like, you can't say that we haven't made space and that she doesn't have space, because, you know, she has space in the pantry, she has that cupboard. And I was like,
speaking of,
I was like, in my head, I'm like, the pantry that has always been, everybody has a row. Just because over the summer people moved out or whatever and everything got all like,
but you
jumbled
knew you
up
were
or whatever.
Roommates.
Like, the pantry was never discussed, like that wasn't like we made space for Nylah. Nylah always had a space in there. It was just not clear. But don't use that as a reason why Nylah doesn't get other cabinet space or whatever, other space to store her stuff, just because she has pantry space. Everybody gets a pantry space. That's just is what it is. And then they were talking about like this small little drawer next to the stove that like they didn't, mind you,
no one was using it.
It was just like a couple random things in there.
Things that need to be thrown away. Like literally like trash, a NutriBullet that was like old and
Broken.
like it didn't work. And so I threw it away. I cleaned out that space and I put all of my spices and like sauces. But I also am sharing that space with Brie because I was like, I'm not gonna, you know, take it all.
Which is one of those things is that like a lot of stuff is like, a lot of it isn't that like this space is like so bad and there's so much stuff in here that like nothing else can fit. And our stuff just didn't fit because there's too much in here. It was like, it's very poorly organized. Like it just needed to be reorganized in general so that like other stuff could fit.
Yeah.
And
we did that. And our space is amazing now.
It is.
I love it.
That's the other thing. Like for a minute there, I was just like complaining, and all I was doing was trying to defend myself and Nylah. And that was defend myself, but also mainly defending Nylah because it was like there was a lot of stuff that was being said that was like directed at Nylah, and she wasn't there, and I was taking the brunt of that like anger, whatever. But they were very clearly saying like Nylah is an issue or like Nylah's demanding too much or whatever. And I'm like, look, I also would like my own space.
Yeah.
I also want to be able to put my stuff here, and it's not unreasonable to want that.
Yeah, what the fuck? If you move into an apartment, there are already roommates that live there, and they said, why would we make space for you? That makes no sense.
Like, I understand, I understand, like, nobody should walk into a shared space, into a place and be like, and demand that things are their way. But that's not what was occurring.
Yeah.
And so, but that's how they were trying to like, or that's how they were
seem.
making it out to be. And I like I was like, look, nobody's saying that like Nylah should just be able to say what she wants and get her way. We're trying to have a discussion about like what works for everybody. But, you know, also it doesn't make sense that like you can't expect people to like come in and just get with the program and just stick with like whatever the old way is. Like that's also unreasonable.
And also what blows me is how like this one person that shares space with us, they say, you know, like the shared space, like why are we changing things? But at the same time, they're also like, I'm not here to be friends with people in the house. So like,
oh, but that came later. That came later.
We got a part 2.
Yeah, this is just the kitchen.
Also, yeah, I'm gonna have to cut so much of this to like make it.
I know.
Actually, I think I'm gonna make this video by itself, and this is just gonna be like a standalone video.
It probably should be.
This cannot go with the other. It'll be too long.
Yeah, you're just gonna have to be like, go look at that other video to see what happened.
This is drama.
Anyways, so that is what happened with the kitchen. Oh, it got resolved because I was like, okay, well, we need to talk about like solutions. Like, if y'all really don't like this whole like whatever space thing, or like you don't want that shared space to be left, like we still need a solution because it doesn't make sense that there's not a space that can be used for me and Nylah to just have our stuff in there. Like, it doesn't make sense. I've looked at these cabinets like 60,000 times, and there's space. There's space to do that. You just gotta
move some things around.
Exactly. And get rid of the trash and the stuff and the junk. And there's just... it just needs to happen. So anyways, that is what occurred. And what blew my mind is that there was another 30 minutes of this conversation where I was like giving a solution that the person who actually shares this space was agreeing with and was like, I'm down for that. And the person downstairs was fighting me on it and like kept just rebuttaling it and was just like, okay, but. And I'm like, why? But yeah, now we have a cute little space that has all of our pots and pans and Tupperware and utensils. And then we have another little space that has all of our bowls and plates and cups. And then we have another little space that has all our spices. So now we have 3 little drawers shared between 2 people. And then the rest
is shared.
Oh wait, no, we have 4 drawers there's a 4th one with our appliances. And then everything else is like the shared quote-unquote space, which I might add, I made look so much better.
But yeah, that was our roommate issue part 1 when it came to space in the kitchen.
What was that? That was like on Wednesday. Let me tell you.
Oh.
And cut. Let me tell you, I had a week because that all happened on Wednesday.
And then
Monday was the start of school, which was trash. Tuesday is also like the start of school for us because like there's Monday, Wednesday, Friday classes and then like Tuesday, Thursday classes. So like Monday and Tuesday were just trash.
I had a great time. But
so trash.
as you guys saw in my last.
She was having a great time. I was over here stressed because I work late. She has 2 jobs. I work 8 to 5 essentially between class and work. So it's a great time over here. But I really had no time to deal with this roommate stuff, and it was just
too much.
Send me. I was sent. No.
It was 40 minutes.
That was a wild first week of school, though, for me at least. You seem to be having the time of your life outside of this roommate stuff.
Not me forgetting to record an outro. As I'm editing, I realized I didn't like say goodbye or anything. So here I am, popping in to say, I hope you guys enjoyed that long roommate story. Honestly, the next one I'm not even gonna post it because it's just so ridiculous and it gets a little bit personal. So we're gonna on that. But make sure you keep a lookout for my week 3 recap. That's coming out tomorrow on Wednesday. As long as this one gets posted today, we'll see. Who knows? Hey, thanks for hopping on this ride with me. See you next week.